Who's used version control before? Okay, so who has not used version control of any kind? Okay, groovy. We're going to be using version control. Specifically, we're going to be using what? Git, yes. So we will talk in more detail about how Git works either tomorrow or the next day. But for right now, we're just going to make sure that we are, in fact, saving versions of what we're writing in Git. So we're going to create a brand new Git repository in this folder. So on your terminal, inside your Chris Mess folder, type the following: git init. Make sure you're in the right directory, not like your home directory. If you want to be sure, besides pwd, you could also type ls and make sure you don't see anything except index, index, and index. If you're there, you're sure you're there, type git init. And it'll say initialized empty Git repository. And you'll see in my case, my command line now shows me some more information. And this little 3 over what looks like a flux capacitor showed up inside Visual Studio Code. If you do an ls, you'll see nothing actually appears to be there. If, however, you do an ls-la, you'll see now there's a directory called .git. Let's look at that real quick. I'm going to open up this folder by saying open space .git. On Windows, that would be start space .git. That'll open up the Git folder. And I can see, hey, it just said initialized empty Git repository. What's all this stuff doing here? Yeah, it turns out an empty Git repository isn't completely empty. It has a bunch of configuration files and things like that that store all your versions, but you don't have any versions. You don't even have any files that it's even watching just yet. But by golly, we have a Git repository. So we want to put something in it. So there are 2 things we have to do to add something to our repository. First, we need to just tell it, pay attention to this file. And we do that with the command git add. So git add, and we could say a specific file like index.html, or we could just say dot, as in current directory, and it will add everything. Before I type that, if I type git status, we'll see no commits yet, untracked files, and it lists all 3 of them. If I type git add space dot and do git status again, it'll say no commits yet, changes to be committed. So we've told it, these are the files I want to commit whenever I get around to committing, which is going to be right now. So besides git add dot, I need to type git commit and then a commit message. -m, double quotes, and some sort of message. We'll talk more tomorrow about what makes a good commit message. Writing good commit messages is extremely important, though, and I'm going to really harp on it, and I'm going to scream inside my mind if I get to your homework on Friday and your commit messages are all things like update. That doesn't help me. That doesn't help me find your homework. All right, so let's say, in this case, just initial commit. There's not much here yet. So git commit -m, quote, initial commit, quote. Then if we type git status, we see nothing to commit, working tree clean. I don't know what all that means, but there's nothing to commit. It must have worked. If we want to make sure we actually did commit, we can type git log. And we see our initial commit is there with a nice big long hash up here. Type Q to get out of git log here. And congratulations us, we have a Git repository. But this is living, that's right, we're very fancy. But this is all just living on our laptops, which won't do us any good if our laptops get destroyed in the middle of class like mine did once. So we want this to also live in the cloud. Yes, I'll tell you that story later. So let's go out to GitHub. Let's actually do that. Go to your GitHub. Those of you who have things that actually work. And hit this green new button. Let's create a new repository. And let's name it Chris Mess. May as well. We don't need to do anything else on this page. It'll be public. We're not paying. We're not going to initialize it because we already initialized it. So create repository, and then you'll get this intimidating looking screen with way too many instructions. Give access to the people you work with. We're all lone wolves at the moment. Quick setup if you've done this kind of thing before. Nope, I have no idea what I'm doing. Or create a new repository on the command line. Pretty sure we just did that. Or push an existing repository from the command line. Hey, we have an existing repository, don't we? Yeah, we do. We initted it, we added stuff to it, and we committed stuff to it. So this sounds like us. So we need to copy these two commands. Conveniently, you can just hit this little button right here. Double check something for me, though. Does this say SSH or HTTPS up here? Which one's selected? Good, because Marian University is so kind as to block SSH for you. Sorry. So let's copy these two commands, push an existing repository from the command line. Paste those right in, and hopefully you'll probably be prompted for your username and password. That's fine. Yeah, repository name's all you need on the first screen. Then just hit create. Copy those two commands, and hopefully you see something like this after you put in your credentials. If that worked, you can refresh on this page, and it will actually show you your repository. There are your 3 files, and it should say 1 commit. If you click where it says 1 commit, you should see initial commit. Very good. If you see an error that says something about ref spec, that means you didn't actually do that first commit, and you need to do that. While I've got this up here, now that I see that my repository is there, I'm going to click this little edit button and type a description, short description of this repository, a whole mess o' Chris's. Because no one knows what a Chris mess is. A quick word, we'll go around and fix problems people have in just a second. Quick note about those 2 commands that we pasted in. We had get remote add origin. That's telling it where in the cloud we're syncing this thing. And get push -u origin master is where we did the actual syncing. Again, we'll go into more depth about how all this works tomorrow.